Hey guys, so I'm sitting here in the car park of Moor Hall, and this is an unusual little video for me to make because it's not a big hike. It was about I think about a 7 kilometre walk in a loop around Moor Hall. Now, Moor Hall was built in the late 1700s. The original owner was an entrepreneur who, when the penal laws were introduced in Ireland, he left Ireland and travelled and apparently made his fortune in Alicante in Spain as a trader or as a merchant. And when the penal laws were not repealed but were less severe, he returned to Ireland with his fortune and he bought the land in this area, many thousands of acres, because he gave 6,000 acres ultimately, or sold 6,000 acres ultimately, to the precursor, the organisation that distributed the land to farmers before the Land Commission, before independence. And he sold them 6,000 acres. But he built Moor Hall, and he was a horseman. He loved horses, and he raced horses and bred them. And apparently he went to the Chester Festival, and his horse won the race and won £17,000 back in the day. I think himself and the Marquis of Wexford were the two gamblers, two guys who backed it. But back in the day, whatever he won back in the day was the equivalent of many millions today. And he came back and he paid off his debts, whatever, so probably his mortgage or whatever. And then what's really interesting is the famine had arrived at that point in time, and he spent the money supporting his tenants. He had 5,000 tenants, like in total, so men, women and children in the family, 5,000 tenants, none of whom died in the famine. So he used the money to support his tenants so that everybody survived. Quite an interesting guy. Unfortunately, the house was burnt down in the Civil War. One of the brothers apparently was on the treaty side and one was on the anti-treaty side. The usual saga. And like all wars, nobody wins. And the lovely library, apparently, a beautiful library, with very original manuscripts that was burnt to the ground. Very sad. But the walk was really interesting. So they have a loop walk in here. I think this is owned by Coillte, but they have a looped walk here. And the looped walk, I think, is about maybe 3 or 4 kilometres. But you can extend it by doing all the old entrance and the old pathways, just walking down and back them. You can actually make it into a longer walk. The pathways were lovely and very easy, just it's like strolling type of stuff, and with all these lovely wooden carvings all along the walkways. I don't know who did them, but they were really, really nice. And nice car parking area with playground and toilets and all the things that you'd want. Really, really nice. It'd be a lovely place to park up, actually, if you were in a camper van. There are no restrictions on entry, loads of room for parking. I see people here, I see a horse box that's just pulled up here, and people are going to go out and hack out, I suppose, in the forest. The old house itself was really unpretentious, really lovely house, and huge wall garden at the back of it, which was really impressive, and it's full of wildflowers and alive with insects. The house itself is now, its residents are now the horseshoe bats or something like that, and apparently they live in their protected species, and they breed in around August apparently, and all the females move down to another little building beside the main house where they have their pups, and the pups then eventually, I think it takes about 8 to 10 weeks, they become independent and they all move back up to the main house. You couldn't make it up. Hilarious. But it is protected. They are a protected species. And there's a lovely dovecote down at the end of the wall garden, which is really, really pretty. You can imagine this place down by the lake overlooking the water. They had a number of rooms. One of the rooms apparently was positioned to look out over from the hill out over the lake, Loch Carra, and it must have been quite spectacular. But yeah, an interesting story and an interesting walk. Could be a really nice place for a little family walk, and not unlike the walk I did in Ardmore. Same kind of walk, but really, really nice. Strongly recommend it.